Hello, heroes and villains. Welcome to Multiverse. There's been a little post by Pandorus addressing some of the, let's say, growing pains of the first week of the new update. So let's take a quick look. So the first thing is that they had removed the source marks from Endgame. I guess they wanted to encourage people to go play the Omnibus to be able to get source marks. So, and they seem to have quickly realized that, nah, that was a mistake. Because in the end, you had to play twice as much to be able to get the same rewards you used to get. Like, you had to play endgame to be able to get the endgame currency to be able to purchase, let's say, from the Flashpoint vendor. But then, way back when you would play that endgame, you would get source marks as well. But now you had to go back to play the Omnibus to be able to get source marks because you need source marks to be able to purchase the allies. You need source marks obviously for your mainframe. You need source marks, and if you have a lot of characters like I do, holy crap, that meant twice the work. And I quickly came to realize when I was playing the game for the past week that it was going to be, well, let's say, challenging to get source marks for all of my characters. It made the thing very unfriendly for alternate characters. And luckily, they came to realize that. Well, I don't think they realized it was unfriendly for alts, but I came to realize that they removing source marks from endgame was not a good idea. Also, they seem to be talking about outliers. They seem to think that they have to adjust. There's a few missions that maybe are not quite adjusted properly for the new stat clamp for the new system. So they seem to think that there's outlier missions that need to be adjusted. I don't really agree with that. I believe pretty much the whole content needs to be adjusted, but they have to start somewhere. So I guess they're going to start with the missions that are the worst offenders, and they'll work their way from there. So I understand that sadly that was to be expected. We knew that if they were going to make such a big change, like the last time they made such a big change, all the missions were messed up. They had to go back and pretty much adjust the difficulty of every single missions in the game, and I believe that's what they're gonna have to do right now as well. But they seem to think that it's only outlier missions. I don't really agree with that, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. And he mentions the Fortress of Solitude the 3. Basically, I think that's the intent behind this, is that there's Fortress of Solitude 3 that everyone was playing. Basically, people were not playing most of the Omnibus missions. What they were doing is that they were spamming Fortress of Solitude 3 because it was the mission that could be done the quickest. It would give you 10 source marks. Roughly, if you had a really good group, you could do the mission in like less than 5 minutes. So if you farmed that mission over and over and over again, you could make a lot of source marks that way. So I believe that is mostly what they're trying to address more than anything else. So they'll probably try to adjust the missions so that to encourage people to use the Omnibus, because when I tried to cure for the Omnibus, it would take forever. Obviously not a lot of people seems to be using the Omnibus system. And here he mentions adjusting the rewards for the Omnibus. Basically, it goes back to what I was saying a bit. What would happen with the new content is that people will find the few missions that are faster to play, and they'll play those missions over and over again. Basically, they came up with the idea of the Omnibus in order to be able to make it faster or easier for new players to find groups. It doesn't work like that at all, or it doesn't seem to work like that at all. What people are doing is that instead of just using quick play and queuing at random for any missions, they select the few missions that will give them the most rewards, and they repeat those missions over and over again. So the intent behind the Omnibus was to help out new players get into groups faster. Sadly, it seems to be to work as expected. It doesn't seem to be the magical solution that the devs thought it would be to help people get into groups faster. I mentioned as much, let's say, some time ago. Sadly, no one listens to me. What can I say? And here he talks a bit about the stat scaling, and he mentions something called piercing. So the stat scaling is all over the place. Sometimes it seems to be fun in certain missions. In certain missions, it seems to be way too easy. In other mission, it seems to be almost impossible. So depending on which mission you play, you may have a different opinion on the stat scaling. What they're basically saying that they're going to monitor the scale feedback. So if you have any feedback you want to give them about the whole thing, go to the forums. I would strongly encourage you to go to the forums to give them some feedback, because they desperately need it. And but give them constructive feedback. Don't just go there and say, "Oh, you sucks." No one listens to that. They'll either delete the post or they won't even read it. Try to be constructive in the way you present your comment. Like if there's something you really don't like, say why you don't like it and explain. Ideally, if you can find a way to explain what could be done to make it better, that would be a lot better than just going there and saying your content sucks. And I know that the new update has been frustrating for a lot of people. I understand. I'm in that boat. I was frustrated a bit about the new content as well. But going to the forums just to vent, it won't really help anyone. So if you really have a comment to make, try to make it a constructive one. I understand the frustration. It's easy to go to the forums, especially right now, and if you're very frustrated, to just vent on the forums. Sadly, if you do that, they're not even going to read your comment. So basically, here's the gist of it. So they're trying to return source marks to endgame content. The rate will be one source marks for solo, one for duo, three for alerts, and 10 for the raids. And they're not going to bring back a combat relevancy. That is a thing of the past. Thank God. They're going to try to identify and address content outlier based on feedback and data, because it's not just your feedback. Like if you, we see some people on the forum sometimes will say one thing, and then the devs decide to do the opposite of what they're suggesting. And at the end of the day, you have to remember that the devs do have the numbers. Like if someone goes to the forum and says that the solo elite mission is too easy, everyone can complete it, the devs can look at the numbers and see if that's actually accurate or not. So if they look at the numbers and they see that no one actually completes the solo, there's only maybe 0.5% of people who actually complete it, they're going to nerf it. I believe they did that this week, because at some point I was playing the solo. It was a bit, let's say, challenging. And the very next day, with the same character, same gear, same skill points, I was able to do it a lot easier. So I suspect they do have the numbers. So even if people try to say that, oh, the majority of people find it too easy, they have the number to know if that's true or not. So basically, based on not just on feedback, but also based on the data that they actually have, they should be able to at least identify some of the issues. Also, they're trying to investigate and adjust the content and the rewards based on expected completion time. So again, they're trying to prevent what happened with the Fortress of Solitude. They don't want people to start spamming one mission and only one mission. They want people to use the Omnibus, so that their quick play system actually works. Because right now the quick play system doesn't work at all. It was a completely waste of time. They're also trying to increase the source marks delivered in the Omnibus mission. So basically what this means is that they're trying to find a way to encourage people to use the Omnibus. People use the Omnibus for the first, I don't know, 2 days. And then after that, it was desert island. No one seemed to be using it. At some point I was queuing for 4-player missions, and the thing just wouldn't want to pop. I waited 45 minutes, and at some point I gave up. I said, okay, I'm doing something else. So sadly, the Omnibus, not the success they're hoping for, and the quick play, it's not the easy magical solution they thought it would be in order to be able to encourage people to get into groups faster and to go play the older content. And so back again, they're monitoring and scaling feedback. Reconfirming targets and goals, clarify, and do more math as needed. So it's nice that at least our friend Pandurus is keeping us updated. So it's nice to see that they're trying to at least let us keep us in the loop, let us know what's going on, and keep us informed about what's happening. And also, there is a Maps who's reminding people about the survey on the forums. Again, that would be also one way. Basically, if you go to the forums and let's say create a thread or comment on the threads, that would be a nice way to give them feedback. But also, there is the survey where they're asking some very specific questions. You can see that they're trying to find out if people actually enjoy the new update, and what people do not enjoy about the new update. So go to the forums. I will put the link to the survey in the description down below so that you guys can go to the forums and answer the survey as honestly as you can.